Okay, so on today's episode of Storytime, I thought I'd share a quick little thing with you. This is my makeshift tripod. My wife's gonna hate me, but because I don't have a tripod and I'm 6'4", I need to get up high. This is where I'm gonna be recording from. This is the stage. That's a crazy cat. Welcome back to the channel, y'all. Alright, so I'm trying out something new today, and that's going to be using a microphone that I just got for like $30 on Amazon, and I'll do a separate video on that in the future going over the review, but right now I'm testing it out and using it for you guys and for myself to just practice and get used to, especially considering I'm going to be doing more of these story time videos. Oh crap, I just realized I don't have my hat on. Hold up, I'll be right back. Alright, so I'm back and I've got the hat. We're all good now. What I wanted to talk about today is actually my first job, where I worked at a theater for about 4 years. There was back in the day, right? This is a long time ago, for me anyways. You had the physical paper tickets that you'd have to purchase up front, and you'd tear them in half, and you'd have them to give them to the guy, and he'd tear them in half, and he'd tell you where to go. I know some theaters still do that today, but for the most case, everything's online or on your phone now. So I was new. I was standing there tearing tickets, and a lot of times, and myself included, my brothers and I worked there, and it was very common for people to sneak snacks in. People still do that to this day, and myself included. I thought it was funny because we had some people that would just really try and sneak in some crazy stuff, right? So you have people that are trying to get beers or alcoholic drinks in, and they're getting them in through their backpacks or purses. Now, at this time, back in like, what was this, 8-9 years ago, alcohol was not a big thing in theaters. This was before this is a prelude to all of this stuff where fine wine and dining that they're trying to do to keep people coming to the theater, because they know everyone can just watch stuff at their house, and it's harder to get out now, especially because of the pandemic. Well, I'm at the door one day tearing tickets, and this guy comes up, and he's a fairly large dude. Like, I'm 6'4", and at the time I was about 180 pounds. I wasn't very big, but this guy comes up, and he's probably 6'3", 6'4", but like 300 pounds. And he's got a hoodie on, and I'm like, oh, okay, him and his friends are coming up, they're gonna hand me their tickets. And it's this weird thing where you'd purchase your tickets in the front, and you'd have to walk around, and we had those railings so that you funneled people right to me, and then I was the ticket tearer, and I tell you to go left or right. So anyways, he comes up, he's in a hoodie, and he has an abnormally large portion of his lower belly sticking out. But it looked kind of like he was pregnant in a way. And so I was like, and I hadn't gotten to him yet because he was kind of going last. His friends I was tearing their tickets. I'd probably been working here maybe a year at this point. And I started to smell chicken. Like, huh, well, we don't sell chicken, but it's making me really hungry. It smells good. And I don't know why I had the thought to ask this guy, hey, sir, do you have anything under your hoodie? Are you hiding any like food? Like, I smell chicken. Fast forward to now, if I had asked the same question, you can get in a lot of trouble, right? Like, people can say, how dare you asking me about look like under my clothes? And like, he had one hand out so he could hand me the ticket, and the other one was in the hoodie pocket, where you can kind of, I guess he could put pressure and hold the food there. And luckily the guy was really honest, and he opened it. He goes, yes, sir, I've got, and he unzips his hoodie. And lo and behold, this guy had a full bucket of chicken from KFC, filled to the brim. They had bought, I don't know how much it cost, but it was about the size of our largest popcorns. I was like, sorry, bud. Unfortunately, we can't let you through with that. I can't. So he was really cool about it. If I could go back, I would have been like, man, more props to you. Just if you can make it. But like, I was new. I didn't want to get fired. I was trying to do my job. So the poor guy has to go outside now, and his friends go back out with him, and they have to sit outside in the cold. It wasn't freezing. We live in San Antonio and at the time, and so it was actually like probably in the 50s if it was cold outside. And he's having to eat this chicken before they go into their movie. Luckily, they had come in early enough in advance. When you work at the theater, though, you find a lot of interesting things. I can remember going into theater after the movie's over. We're waiting for the Twilight Saga end credits to finish, and everyone's waiting in there. And then we have to go through each and every aisle with a broom and find stuff. You have to get up under the chairs, and you have to make, like, this is before everyone had to sanitize the chairs. This is before they were leather. So, you know, all we had to do was really sweep, grab stuff out of the cup holders, and we were gone. But sometimes people, when it was slow, they'd go into like a movie that had been there a long time and was about to go out of the theater, and they go into these, like, they only maybe seated 100 people, you know, they're small theaters, and maybe it'd just be those two people. Well, they'd have snuck in a lot of drinks or something, and one time we thought we were done, and we checked all the things, and I don't know why I had the instinct to look behind the last row. You could barely do anything back there except just walk. It's just extra space so that if your chair needed to lean back, you know, you could, but then there's a wall. So I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna go up there and check and double check, because when you're in the theater business and you're cleaning theaters a lot, you're looking for like leftover cash. Now, if you find someone's wallet or phone, that was a big, like, no, you've got to turn that in for sure. You can't take anything out of the wallet. Like, never ever did in my life. Never have, never will. But if there was like loose quarters or loose bills, like, that was kind of up for free grabs at the time. And, you know, I think the most I found at one point was like, I found a roll of 10s and 5s, and it was like $140 in a rubber band, and no one ever came back to claim it. So I held on to it throughout the day to see if anyone would come back and claim it, just in case. No one ever did. So that was pretty cool. I walk up to the top, and I'm looking behind this row of chairs, and I find a pyramid that's probably like up to my knees. And at the time I was still 6'3", so that was pretty high. It was about maybe three bottles tall, maybe 4. I think it was just 3 though. Of Budweiser cans just stacked. Like, it was a lot of beers. It wasn't like they snuck in a 12-pack. Somehow this group had gone in maybe a 24-pack. You know, it was a good amount of beers. And it was in a kids movie of all things. Like, it was the craziest thing when the 3D movies would come out. This was before the 3D vision with like the black shade looking glasses. This was like, I worked back when the 3D movies were in red and blue, and you had those paper things that you had to put over your glasses or you had to look through, and that was how you got 3D, right? So I remember when Alice in Wonderland, the live action, was coming out, but the 3D version of that, I believe, was in the red and blue glasses, and we had so many people that would come in high or super drunk. I can't even name all the stories of people just being crazy in that theater. We'd get complaints coming in from just loud screams coming from the theater, and it was full-grown adults in there tripping, watching this movie, while these poor children are trying to watch the movie with their parents. And it's just some of the craziest stuff. I remember this one time we were waiting down at the end of a hallway for a theater to drop. We called it when the theater would drop. That's when the movie would be over, the door would open, and then the system would let us magnetize the door to the lock. We're waiting for the theater to drop and for the customers to come out. Well, maybe I'd say 10 to 15 minutes before it's dropping, it was the next one. So we would just head there, and you kind of wait. And this guy comes running out of the theater, busts the door open, screaming like, hey, call 911, and there's a guy choking in there. And we're like stunned. Like, it was just me and another employee because it was a slow theater. It was a small theater. So it took us like 4 or 5 seconds to be like, oh my gosh, this guy's serious. But in those 4 or 5 seconds, this guy determined that we weren't going to do anything about it, and then started yelling at us and getting frustrated with us that we weren't calling 911. And I was like, oh, I don't have my phone on me. And so we're like, oh my gosh, okay. So this guy runs off after getting mad at us and freaking out, and we're all shaken up. Like, I look at my friend, I'm like, bro, what do we do? Like, is this guy for real? So like, we go into the theater to check to make sure, like, if this guy's okay, like, what's going on. Turns out this older gentleman was just eating his popcorn and had taken too large of a handful of popcorn and just started choking on it and couldn't breathe. And it caused him, according to the paramedics when they got there, it caused him to have a minor heart attack, I believe is what they said. So luckily they got him in the ambulance. They were able to take him away. But from what they were saying and what we found out later, I guess from my managers, was that the guy had started choking on it, and because he was so old, it caused him, in the reaction and the freaking out and the heart racing and the lack of oxygen or whatever, it caused him to have a mini heart attack or something. For those people out there that know more about medical stuff, they probably know exactly what happened based on my story. But those are the kind of crazy things that I had as my first year working at my first job. Back in the day, when you're a kid, we'd watch a lot of gory movies like Rambo and The Expendables, and I grew up with a bunch of boys and brothers, and we'd skate. And so it was really cool to hear, like, for example, Sylvester Stallone's first job, he worked at a theater as well. You always hear stories like that, and it's really encouraging. But I just wanted to share some of that stuff with you guys today. I wanted to test out this new mic. So thank you guys for sticking around to the end if y'all did. I appreciate it. Hit the like and subscribe if y'all want to keep up with notifications and the next move. Man, that's how bad it is. I've been talking about movies. The next movie comes out. There we go. So yeah, just stick around if you guys want to see more. And thanks for coming by. See y'all in the next one. Peace.